Welcome to Thrive in the Mess. I'm your host, Lisa Hutchcraft Whitmer. I have an amazing guest today, and I met her years ago, and a friend of mine, Angie. So I'm absolutely thrilled to see her. It's been a while since I've seen her, and I am actually traveling on the road. So we are in her kitchen, but if you were in my home, I would provide goodies. So these are not just for decoration. And actually, I figured when we discuss some hard things in life, sometimes you gotta have chocolate. So, but this has a little caramel in it too. So if you were here, you could join in with us. So, but pull up a seat to the table with us today, and we are going to chat with Angie. Angie, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? I know you teach.
Right. I am a public school teacher, and I've been in the public school for 13 years.
Wow.
And before that, I did a little bit of homeschooling, and I've taught overseas as well.
And one thing I love about you is just your joy, your even walking through hard things. That doesn't mean life is a piece of cake and we skip along and just smile. You really have an authentic joy and smile that I just have always appreciated about you. And I'm sure your students just adore that about you. And I know you travel. We'll get to some of that a little later, but tell us a little bit about traveling. Why do you travel?
I love to travel, and I like to learn about new places in the world. I have a heart for that. And when I was a little girl, I felt God was leading me to be a missionary someday, which I did do.
Yeah.
And I got to fulfill that. And so living in another culture made me come to appreciate all sorts of different things about other cultures.
Right.
And so me, it's just I have this wanderlust to learn about as many places as I can and to find the beauty in each place. So I've been to several places. Last summer, I got to go hiking in Iceland.
I love it. And you tie it in with like some fitness stuff too. I know some of the healthy things, which I also like. So,
So that was a bucket list destination for sure. And then to do the hiking portion, which was challenging.
right.
And then I've also...
We have another guest too.
Yeah.
So
My dog.
making sure we're safe while we're doing the podcast.
Right.
Thrive in the mess. So here we go.
Right. And then I also, a couple of years ago, received a Fulbright scholarship, Fulbright grant to go to the country of Jordan.
Wow. That's right.
To learn about migration through historical and modern day migration in the country of Jordan. And I spent 30 days there.
Wow.
So those are the two big trips that I've taken. And then I'm part of a hiking group, and we travel around.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I love that you share that beauty that you find places with other people too through your social media, which I love being able to keep up with all that. So, well, and you are a mom of 3 young adults who are, I was just talking with your youngest, who's amazing, has an amazing caring heart, caring for people in the medical field. And also, that's a hard thing. I don't think I could do that because God gives all of us different gifts. And I could really see her caring heart with that. And I love that. So we need more good people who do that. But we're going to jump into an issue that probably affects like everybody and has touched everybody pretty much. And that's divorce and life after divorce. And it's a hard thing. Literally, we hear that it is the second highest stress for a person after death of a spouse or a child. Because it is a loss, it's a death. And after losing my mom several years ago, that is grief. And the death of a marriage is grief. Death of a spouse is grief. There's all these different kinds of grief. So we're walking through that. We do, with this, we like to have some laughter, some hope, and touch on faith with all of this. And so divorce being a tough thing, we're going to jump into some of that. We're going to do a deep dive with your journey. So And one of the things that that we look at is we all have messy stories. Everyone has messy in their life somewhere, but stories begin happy. Do you want to rewind years ago and give us, okay, no one starts out marriage thinking, okay, this is going to end
Right.
not together. Just
Sure.
walk
Yeah.
us through that a little.
So I met my husband in college. So we were college sweethearts, I guess you could say. And we were very young when we met and decided, we're going to get married young. We had the same beliefs and values. We both wanted to be missionaries, and that we would, even though we were young, we thought we were mature to handle marriage and that we would grow old together. So I met him at 18, was engaged at 19, and then married at 20. So we were just, now I look back and I can see that we were just babies too.
It doesn't seem like it at the time. You're like, oh, we're grown up. And we are, like, we're young adults at that moment.
Right.
But
so we jumped into marriage, with all of our hopes and dreams.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it was at that time I met you and several others as well. So we were married for 25 years, and I would say that they were, for me, 25 happy years.
Yeah.
With different ups and downs, of course.
Yeah.
And different things that created, probably we could say, trauma
Right.
in our lives and in our marriage too. Those things can be a stressor, one being that my brother had passed away. So, and that dealing with stressful situations, that can really stress a marriage as well.
The external, right. There's a marriage, but there's like external pressures, and that adds to internal. Obviously, divorce is very painful, very traumatic for everybody involved. So that's not a place we're going, but we are deep diving into how do you walk through it, and so that just, how do we do that? So, and also how, sometimes at that moment, I'm sure there are moments like, well, let's get to that point. You're not divorced yet. You're married, 25 years. How do you see things are, how does it get to that point?
Right. Well, we moved a lot. We had lived overseas, and then we came back to the States and had to integrate back into the States with our kids.
Right.
And then we moved 3 different places before we settled here, where I am now.
Right.
And when we moved here, I knew that in order to move here, I was going to have to go back to work. So I started working in the public school then, and it was just busy. It was me trying, after 20 years of being home and homeschooling, doing different, not that I was just home all the time. I did different things in the community.
That's a lot. Oh, yeah.
Was a foster mom for a while. That was an adjustment for me. How do I juggle, this extra thing that I'm doing?
And you have made a big difference in a lot of people's lives overseas, here too. So it's like, a lot of times we don't have a title for that, or we can't quite put that on a resume, but you have touched a lot of lives. So yes, we make a difference through all those things. I don't think I realized the foster mom part too.
Yeah.
So, wow.
For a couple years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so it was me learning how to juggle all that. And it wasn't perfect. And I think that our marriage took a hit with that, just trying to work through, how do I balance my work and my home life. And at the time, we had 2 teenagers and an elementary school child as well, and just juggling everything. And so it also, my husband traveled a lot too as well. So he was in and out. So how do you come together after that? And it came to a point where we had grown apart, and I felt we're in a stage where we were just coasting. and trying to get through those hard teenage years that are so busy. And what I found out, though, is that we weren't quite on the same page. We weren't on the same page with our happiness level, our values. We weren't on the same page with our faith either. And so that was something that I really, really struggled with. And when we moved to the new city where we had moved to, we struggled finding a church. So it came to a point where we stopped going to church altogether. And me, I could have gone on my own, and no one, my family wouldn't have thought anything of that. But I took those Sunday mornings to try to have family time. So, and I did. I will admit that I grew apart from the Lord during that time. And to the point where I wasn't sure if I really believed anymore. And right when I was struggling with that is when my husband had said, I want a divorce. And for me, that was a sign from God that he was taking me and saying, Angie, I love you and I'm here for you. I felt God again through all of that mess.
Right.
So, which is surprising. So for me, that was a point where, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? And I clung to God because I felt like God was saying, I see you and where you're going, and I don't like where you're going, and I'm here for you.
I love verbs. And after my mom passed away, I found a verse in Psalms that is one of my favorite ones, and it uses that for cling. And I can't help but picture, remember where our children were little and they're like hanging on, to mommy or daddy. And it literally says, my soul clings to you, to God. Your right hand upholds me. And so when we cling to him, there's a promise there. He will hold us up. And I don't tell people how to grieve or anything, but I'm like, I did cling to God because those moments where, you're sobbing, like it's not crying, like grief brings sobbing, like it brings out more emotion. But if we cling to him, he will hold us up. And I've seen, that's why I talk about that hope, because of God has held me up every step of the way. And so, okay, jumping back to you. So you cling to God, and has he held you up? Have you said, okay, God, forget it? If you'd question, some of, your faith and all through all of this, where was the turning point for that? It sounds like at that moment when you feel like God saw you, you felt seen, you felt heard. I love you, Angie, God saying that. So, and then where has that gone since then? Like since that turning point?
Right. One of the things that I did when I first realized that this was going to happen, a decision had been made, and I could either agree with that or not agree with that. So it wasn't a decision we necessarily made together. And so that's where a lot of the struggle was for me in the divorce. And I knew that I needed help. Then I knew I couldn't do this on my own, but I had, over the years, isolated myself by not getting involved in a church community and thinking it would be better to be at home with my family. So I didn't have a church community to go to and ask for help. And so I got involved in a divorce support group. And then
Community, right?
Right.
And this is before the actual divorce. Also had to walk through it.
Yes. I knew at that time, it happened pretty quickly, where this is what I want, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And then it happened. And then we proceeded in that direction. So
That's really, I just feel like that's an amazing choice you made, like in a moment like that, of not just waiting, not, finding community right away.
Right.
Wow.
So I think that is something that I had to look forward to every week.
Right.
Just, okay, I'm going to be with people who understand.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
What I'm going through. And it was at a certain church in our city, and I started attending that church as well, and found a little small group community who embraced me and helped me, along with the people I worked with too, who were very supportive,
Right.
and were there whatever I needed. So I had someone that I could ask for help.
Right.
Right. And then my family too surrounded me. I wasn't sure. I came from a family in the way that I grew up where we don't believe in divorce.
Right. Right.
You know, we're not going to support you if that ever happens.
And what did happen?
And what happened was, you know, I was supported and loved
Right.
and
Wow.
precious to my family.
Right.
So that wasn't an issue like I thought it might have been.
Right.
So because that's a big fear in divorce, is being rejected from the Christian community. And so I was scared, just having that placed on me. I'm now divorced.
Right.
And
Right.
how will that be perceived? Because our society is very much a couple society.
Right.
So
That's one thing I'm always like, I see that in our society of we treat people more valuable, like every Hallmark movie, you know, it's, you know, that's the end goal. But God has made us ourselves, like each and every person, and we're valuable just because he made us. And another thing that like hearing you talk is identity. When you think of, okay, saying I'm divorced, but really any label is not our identity.
Right.
We are who we are because God made us uniquely us. I love in the Old Testament, you know, in the Bible, it talks about we're fearfully and wonderfully made. We are, in the New Testament, it talks about we're made by him and for him. We are uniquely made by God. And we're so treasured by him. And there's some verse in like, you know, in the Old Testament about he, you know, he sings over us. He like which is almost like I think in the Hebrew like dancing over. He just loves us because he made us. Doesn't matter anything else, you know. And so I love saying and seeing that divorce is not an identity. That's not who you are. You are Angie, and you know, made by God, uniquely made by him. And we don't have to listen to the voices of other people saying, oh, because our world is full of broken.
Right.
And that's a moment I would guess you felt really broken. Okay, I'm broken. How do people view broken? And so I just appreciate your perspective on that. You know, how do you not feel broken in the middle of that? I might not always ask things, but like you're walking through this, okay, but how do you not feel broken at that moment?
I think it's very natural, right, to feel something's not right.
Right.
And what happened? And could I have done anything?
Lots of questions. Right.
And but I think working through that either with a group with some type of support is really, really good because you can see, okay, you know, I can experience healing. So I probably wouldn't say I ever felt like I was broken.
Right.
But I did feel not right.
That's a good way to put it. No, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Right.
Right.
Well,
So,
something's out. It's like a car doesn't work if something's out of alignment.
Right.
All of a sudden, something's different. Like
Right.
it's not right. We don't feel in alignment for a little bit. But you touched on community, and community's been a big part. Like I love you even touched on, okay, a hiking group and traveling internationally with these groups and things, and your grant that and all, and how big a role, like obviously community took a role in the process of going through divorce, but since then has community helped?
yes,
And how so?
definitely. I'm actually an introverted person. So I
So you were
need
thrilled when I reached out to you and I'm like, hey, I appreciate you even sharing because this gives hope,
Right,
in the middle of hurt for
right.
others, I pray. So, because you walked through this. So, okay. And I totally forgot where to ask.
Well, I tend to be an
Right.
introverted
Yes.
personality, so I do need this rest and recharge. That's
Right.
part of who I am when it comes to my work. My work is very demanding, being around and on all the time for children.
What age do you
I
teach?
teach third grade,
Third grade. Okay.
right? So
That's
that you're with them all day,
right.
and
Right.
it's very much
On and right.
hands-on, and so it can be mentally draining. So I knew that I needed at first it was okay, I go to work and I come home, and I had to really choose what else am I going to do.
Right.
And I had made a commitment, you're going to go to church and you're going to go to your divorce group.
When the last thing you wanted to do was go back out.
Right.
And you want
So those are the only things at
right.
first
Right.
that I could handle because
And those are two intentional choices.
yes.
Yeah.
And then I had over time another small group formed that I was involved with. And then as time went on and could distance myself a little bit, then that's when I got more involved in different things. And during those first couple years, I had to really figure out who I was and
Right.
who I wanted to be. Even what are the things that I enjoy? Because, like you said, I have 3 kids, and a lot of my identity was around either being married or around
Right.
what supporting my children
Right.
and raising my children. And so then when the divorce happened, 2 of my children were already adults, and we had another sixth grader.
Mm-hmm.
So just, well, who am I now that I'm on my own, and who do I want to be? So just figuring all of that out is what helped me decide what community looked like for me.
Right. Right.
So I read a book from Bell Hooks, and in her book, it talks about love in the African American culture. But it also talks about how there's different kinds of intimacy and how you can have creative intimacy with someone, or you can have, um, well, I really like that one because that might look different than if you had intellectual intimacy. So, and just realizing, okay, I don't have to be married and I don't have to have my children around me to still be me. I
Right.
can find these different things and still be involved and give to my community without having that unit.
Right.
But also not having a family unit, that's been
Right.
the hardest, I think. And that's, been hard for my kids too.
Right.
So, and that even when I go back, it's been, it'll be 7 years. And that still, when I go back and I reflect or have a moment of quietness, that's something I still grieve, is the loss of that family unit.
Right. Right.
So it looks different. My kids and I, we still get together,
Right.
and it looks different. But that is something too that
Right.
probably my biggest struggle, since that was such a important part of my life.
Right. Right. So you were talking about the different in the family structure, just the family environment. So grief occurs with all these different things we talked about. I know even my walk through grief after my mom. One thing I know someone mentioned to me that I encourage other people to do: lean in. You don't want to stuff it because if you stuff something, it's like a beach ball being pushed down in the pool. It's not going to stay there. It's going to explode later. So you got to deal with it. So lean in, but don't stay there. That's what this person said. And I was like, because they had been told that. And I'm like, that's so good. You lean into it. But how do you not just stay in bed eating the Haagen-Dazs and just like watching Netflix forever? How do you get like that can be part of the grieving process, but like how do you get to I this might sound weird, but I'm like so proud of you for making intentional choices. That's a big thing in this journey to, okay, I'm going to get out of the house. And it's harder for an introvert. I have a couple introverted children. And so the last thing you want to do is, change clothes and then go back out again when you just got home from being with a bunch of people who need your attention all day long in the classroom. But you did do that. But I'm sure there was a time where it's like, how do you not just stay curled up in a ball somewhere? Because I'm sure there are moments like that. Were there moments like
Yeah.
fetal position, just, I can't do this,
Right. Yeah, there's times like that. And I remember the beginning stages, like that's why I made a decision. If you do nothing else, you will do these two things and get out of the house.
Right.
So,
Courageous choices.
right. And
Right.
so you have to be intentional, and it isn't something that you're going to feel like you want to do.
Right.
But if you do have even one person that says, okay, let's do this together. Okay, if you have one person that you can rely on to get you out, if nothing else.
Right.
But this also comes back to my walk with the Lord too, and how I wanted to get right with him through this. And so it was part of getting out to my divorce group and getting out to church was my way of getting back in line with where I wanted to be with God as well.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I made an intentional choice to go to a grief share program after my mom passed away. It was like 13 weeks, and every Wednesday night I was going to that. But I'm like, I have to walk through this well for my sake, for my family's sake, my children's sake, my family, and for the sake of others, and just doing the hard things. So I love that you intentionally chose to do that. Okay, a lot of after divorce is survive. I like financially, relationally, emotionally. Can you touch on any of those? There's so many strands to divorce too. We're not going to have all the cover all the things, but just emotionally, relationally, financially, like, okay, what do you do, at those moments, instead of just surviving to thrive?
Right. I think people deal with a situation you weren't expecting differently. And for part of me, um, I had to sit down and meditate and reflect a lot. And there were a lot of
Do you
tears.
journal?
I used to journal. I haven't as much on and off. But when I first was going through this, yes, I journaled a lot and I had to get out my feelings.
Right.
And for me, crying was that way. That was very therapeutic.
Don't you hate the feeling though, like when you know it's coming and it builds up? I remember that. It's like, if I don't let this out,
Right.
it will come out at the worst possible time. And but I don't want to cry either.
Right,
I need to. I don't know if you're like that. I don't know if everyone's like that, but I hated that. But then it is a relief.
It is.
It's like,
It is.
you know what I mean? And I would feel immensely better.
Yeah.
After that. So I don't know if you were like that, but yeah.
Yeah. And so doing that every once in a while, I knew I needed to do that. And then another big thing for me was the music I was listening to. I wanted to make sure I was listening to uplifting music.
Right.
I felt empowered me. And so I made some playlists to listen to.
Another intentional choice. Love that. Wow.
I really leaned into, and there were many, songs, Christian songs that I really felt spoke to me.
Right.
So listening to those, and it was when I was listening, I don't know, this was probably 2 years after divorce, where I was listening to a song and I realized that I was ready to forgive what happened.
Wow.
And
Oh my goodness.
And I released and forgave
Wow.
everything that had happened. And I think it was at that point that I experienced tremendous joy.
That is huge. Well, I wondered about like bitterness because when our hearts are hurt, we want to go and
Right.
like, okay, no one gets in there, and we can literally, it can change our attitude, our demeanor, our, then we're cold and hard to other people
Right.
around us, but it's protective. But then you get to a point, and bitterness so hard. There can be bitterness, and but bitterness is I've heard people describe it as it's like drinking poison. It doesn't hurt the
Yeah.
other person,
It hurts
it hurts
you.
you.
Yes.
It's like a slow growing cancer inside of us, emotionally, where you're touching on that. So wow, that's huge to be able to say forgive, because some of these things seem okay. Well, I have my life with someone I love, and it falls apart, and to forgive that, that's amazing that that came at the, but that also came through an intentional choice that you made
Right.
with what you were putting in your community, and
Right.
I do want to say too, I am really big. I know I mentioned this to you like at one time, but I'm not a big platitudes person of, okay, you're not skipping through all this saying, oh, this, I'm
Right.
fine. But like you said, you got to a point and forgave, and the joy and peace. Did you say peace? Like just some of the, what comes at that moment and how freeing forgiveness is.
Yes.
I remember there's someone I know who literally went up to someone who she said, I forgive you. And I think they laughed at her. But the thing is, she did what
He needed.
and it's freeing for us to forgive. It's not, otherwise it's just like shoes in there. Like that's what I picture. So, because I'm always like, okay, is my heart towards that person or whatever? And especially if someone does something wrong to our child, it's like that almost hurts more. But I still can't let bitterness grow there. But then yeah, wow, that's really powerful. I know with and one of the things with bitterness, I feel like there are wounds from whatever wound, in this case, a broken marriage, a divorce, and bitterness like is when the wound gets infected. So you didn't let it get infected, though those 2 years were probably pretty rugged.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any perfect divorce, that's
Right,
just,
right.
and so I made lots of mistakes. I made lots of mistakes with the child I still had at home. I made lots of mistakes, I'm sure, in my communication with my co-parent. And so those 2 years, yeah, were pretty hard. And I could see that I could become bitter.
Right,
But I knew I didn't want that. I didn't want to be consumed
right.
with it. And I know we've talked a little bit about identity. I didn't want divorce to be my identity
Right.
either.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So forgiveness for me, for my kids as well, um, is something that I knew eventually, even though I wasn't ready right away to do that, because I needed to work through all the stuff and grieve the loss. But I knew I didn't want to go down. I didn't want my grief to turn into bitterness.
Right. And there's so many layers. You can't just, it's not an overwhelming forgiveness, I
Right.
guess is what you're saying too. It was kind of layers of, okay.
Yeah. So did go on after I graduated from my divorce support group, and then I later went back to be a leader.
Really?
And yes.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
one thing that we always say to people is you can forgive
Mm.
and you can forgive again, because when you have a relationship with this person, something else might pop up that needs to be forgiven.
Right.
So it's not like it's a one and done.
Right.
It can take a long time.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You're doing what you can at that moment.
I love your saying that they say that, because I know even going through that grief group, there's no timeline for grief. And I feel like our society, yes, they're not only that couples more valuable, which is not true, but that they give a short window to grieve something. And it's like, okay, get back to life.
Right.
I mean, that's not possible after the loss of a loved one or the loss of a marriage, grieving that. So I like that. I think that's really important to always remember, because that was the same for me. I couldn't do certain things until later, in the timeline. And I like that forgiveness can come in at different moments, along the way. So you touched on co-parenting. And I just the communication and stuff, that's important. It might, again, every divorce is different. So I'm sure there are some marriages where it doesn't work. But it's nice you say co-parenting, that
Yes.
you were still,
We decided, well,
you both love your children.
right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So, we co-parented together, and when our youngest really struggled with the marriage or the divorce, the marriage not existing.
And she was the
anymore.
one left at home.
Right. When her siblings were older, so they were in college or out of the house. And so it was really, really rough on her. And when she would break down and cry, it affected her schooling, it affected her friendships. When she would verbalize it, she would say, "Mom, I just miss our family." And so when I realized that was taking a toll on her, I had asked my ex-husband, would you be willing to have a Sunday night dinner? Sunday was our day where we would, our exchange day, because she stayed with me for a week, stayed with him for a week.
Okay.
Would you be willing to, just for her, to eat dinner together? Because, we're still her parents.
Right.
Still be a type of family.
Wow.
Families
Did that work to do that?
all look different. So yeah, for a time, that did help her.
Wow.
She went on to have some other struggles as well.
Right.
And then we did that for several
That's
years.
amazing. The two of you did that. You rise up together to do that for the sake of your
her.
child.
Right.
Wow, that's powerful that you both were able to. Wow, that's really something. And I know that's just a key thing, communication. How is that all going to pan out and all the things? I think you need chocolate. Do you want a piece of chocolate? Because I
You
actually
wanna
want to
eat
read
chocolate?
something.
Okay.
No, I don't, but
Okay.
you. I'd feel better if you have chocolate for a minute. But I also, I love this. I wanted to share this, that from Psalm of trust in him at all times, pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. I couldn't help but think of that when I was reading through Psalm. I'm like, that is for any situation, because it says what? Trust in him at all times, not some. I love looking at all these little words in the Bible and verses, but there's no asterisk that says, but God, this really hurts right now. This divorce is too much. How can I fully trust you? Because things are not what I'd hoped they would be. But pour out your hearts to him, because he's our refuge. And I love, you kind of have a strand of, like, you were, you felt loved by God, seen, and the music you listened to, all of that, and he became your refuge. It seems like. So I just love the hope that.
Well, I love that.
that.
I love that you said that word, because going through this time, at the beginning of the year, I always prayed about a word that I would feel God was giving me for that year.
Right.
And so my first year going through divorce, I was given the word hope, which is what we're talking about.
Right. Love that.
And then the second year was actually refuge.
No way. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Two amazing words. And that's what we need in hope. When we feel like things are not what we had planned, we would love things to just be all perfect for us, for the people we love. And then all of a sudden they're not. And how do we deal with that? And God always offers hope. There's always hope. So love that. One thing I also wanted to just touch on, this isn't necessarily your situation, but just going back to the identity, not letting divorce, what anyone has ever said. I know some divorces, not yours, involved abandonment and abuse and, other people in life, but that does not define us. It doesn't define a person ever. And I just really hope that that gives hope even with that. We are valuable and treasured because of God. So you had said there was a verse that meant a lot to you. You want to share that?
Yeah. So one of my life verses that I have always loved, but one that I decided, this is how I want to live my life. My life, I wish it had, it was neat and clean, and that I had gotten married, and I wish that had worked out. And it didn't work the way that I wanted it to. That doesn't mean God didn't know exactly how it was going to work, or that he was going to love me any less. And it took me a long time to really accept God's love, because I felt like I wasn't worthy.
You're saying after the divorce.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one verse that I just love and try to live by is Micah 6:8, which says, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God."
Mm.
And I know that through divorce, it's a very humbling experience, because all of everything that you've trusted in, or your supports, a lot of them get taken away. And so to humble yourself, but also to show mercy to others, and to act justly. Those things really, that's how I want to live my life, even before divorce, but also after divorce too.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's powerful. One other thing, how has it been? You said your family accepted you. I'm kind of curious, like, you actually have mentioned that, how are things with other people, like in-laws?
Yeah. So I have kept in touch with my in-laws. I'm sure that my in-laws are very relational. They love to talk, and I'm sure that they would like to hear from me more than they do.
Well, you are a teacher and you're leading other groups.
But sometimes I feel, and it's funny because sometimes the way that I grew up, we touch base every once in a while.
Right.
With my own parents. And so I'm like, well, I do talk to you a lot. So
it's all in perspective. I think it's a lot. So it's like, I'd like to talk to my children probably more than sometimes. But
I see my in-laws at least once a year, if not more. And I was just up there in January. They had come to see me last summer. And so then I get to see some of my nieces and nephews as well. So
I love that. So the communication is still, that's a gift.
Yeah.
Because I know that's not always the case, and it's probably with different situations.
Right.
So
And for a while, I mean, it is different.
Probably awkward.
And it can be awkward for them too.
Right.
But I actually have a friend who went through divorce, and she is actually neighbors with her mother-in-law. And I think, and they always had a great relationship. So I think, well, if I had lived maybe in the same town, maybe it wouldn't be as awkward, but since we are apart and only see each other, it can be that way. But
it's still, the fact that you have that relationship has made it not awkward. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning, it seems like it would, be really awkward of how does this person, just like you felt with your family, how will they view, how are you accept? But again, honestly, the most important thing is knowing you're valuable and treasured, and just that. I do want to touch on just briefly again. So you could have gone a whole nother direction with saying, I don't want you in my life, God. But you didn't. You really, instead of like following the doubt, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will. Yes. I feel like God is the one constant in my life. Not necessarily the church. There's a difference there. Because people are human and people disappoint us. And the church is filled with imperfect and messy humans.
That's right. Messy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is one thing that, I mean, I'm not perfect in my walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
I
don't think anyone is.
right.
It's
And,
one step at a time.
and I know that the most important thing is love. And I feel that from the Lord, and I feel acceptance. And that's what I want to be to others. No matter,
Voice we listen to.
right, no matter where another person is in their life,
Right.
or what they're going through. I want them to feel safe and comfortable with me, just like I do with the Lord.
Wow. Powerful time. Thank you for just all of this. And I hope that you've been able to be encouraged. There's one thing I wanted to end with, and it's so tiny I can't read it. So, but I found this Lamentations of all the things. So if you want another chocolate or macaron, well, but I love this. You want to read like the first couple of verses, like there, like can you see with your glasses?
Right here?
Yeah, 19 and 20, and then
I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope.
I would think anyone walking through divorce, their soul is downcast at some point. But then there's this, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. You used that word at one point about consumed. And I thought of this, of we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail, which you just touched on, his love for us. They are new every morning, one day at a time, one step at a time. I almost feel like just catching our breath, like, okay, we can start a new day. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him. I love that hope was that word for you. To the one who seeks him. So I love that. I love the hope. And I really hope you've been encouraged. Angie, thank you for being authentic, sharing some hard things and giving us a whole lot of hope with it too. And don't forget to join us next time for more encouragement and laughter and hope and faith on the next Thrive in the Mess.